Hello, mobsters. This is the boss of bosses coming to you today with a weekly update. And boy, do we have a lot to go over. So I'll try and get right into it so this video isn't too long, but I imagine this one's going to be a long one. So we'll start off with the most current drama related thing going on, and that is the Black Hand family dropping. So I've been messaged by several people about the situation, and is anything going to be done and that kind of thing. And just to make it public so everyone is aware, Blackhand broke no rules and did anything wrong as far as the game is concerned. So there's not any penalty. They didn't break any rules, so there's no suspensions, no issues, no punishments, no stat loss or anything like that. They have the decision, just like every other family, to drop their tree at any point that they want. So, yeah, it's not ideal. It's not good for the game. It's not good for themselves. The entire family members now suffer because of it. Now their gameplay is minimal compared to what it used to be, and they just lost, what, almost 9 months worth of work, or 8 months worth of work put into a family that if they ever decide to create a new one, they have to start from the beginning. So that's on them. That's their decision. They're going to have to live with it, or see if any families would take them in if they don't want to start a new one all over again. So that's where we stand with that. It is what it is. Again, it's not great for the game, but can't stop people from playing how they wish, as long as it doesn't break the rules, which in this case it did not. So that's the end of that story. So let's move on. Let's drop it. It is what it is. We will continue to have fun and continue to improve the game and do what we need to do. A lot of the discussion around this is about going back to rounds. And again, I've said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. It does not matter if every single person voted that they wanted this to go back to rounds. This game is not going back to rounds. There's many reasons why it's not going back to rounds. So, yeah, the game needs a lot of work to get it to be working fully functioning, but I think a lot of people, most of the players are from beta. So, there are several new people, and I know I'm not the only one that does not want to see this game go to rounds. But we don't really want rounds anyway. Like, we have a very poor memory when it comes to rounds. Yes, when a round started, it was hot. It was competitive. It was so much fun. And that would last for about 2 weeks. And after that 2 week period, every family is established. We know what family is going to be the dominant family pretty much. And, they're going to get the things first, and it's going to be, a catch-up battle from there. So after those 2 weeks, it went right back to just status quo, right where we're at right now. I don't know how many times during a round would be in process, and someone would be like, hey, when does this round end? I can't wait for this round to end. Because it was boring. Because people wanted to protect their stats. They wanted to protect their end of round results with all the things that they had achieved, and they didn't want to lose that. So there might be one war in 3 months, out of which means only 2 families went to war. There was rounds where multiple families never went to war during that round, and the round was 3 months. So in 3 months you never have a war. It was very, very boring. So again, I think we have a very poor memory of what the rounds used to really bring to the table. It wasn't a lot of fun. This gameplay right now in what I'm trying to set up, if I can get it to be what I imagine, will be a lot more fun, because people shouldn't be trying to hold on to these stats and these end round results, because there are no end round results. You're not trying to get first and have it be on its own page, on the outside of the rounds and the results and the records. There's no more of that. It's in the rankings page, and it should fluctuate. If someone dies, like, they're going to drop in rankings, and now they got to work hard to get back to first place, which people have died and gone and worked their way back into being the number one, capo, whatever position that they were at. So it's not like it's unattainable, but it gives people that goal and that drive. So I'm trying to set up a game where it is continuously changing, the who's on top and everything, and who's holding what current records and stuff. And as people die, then people move into higher rankings, maybe move into first, and then the people who just lost it now have something to work towards. Because if you're just sitting on top and no one's ever going to catch you, you lose motivation yourself. So any games out there, which are almost, I've never come across a round game before. Mine was the only one I've ever seen, and I've played a bunch of these different types of games. But when you play these long-term games, if you are in the point of being in the lead and you are the number one of whatever type of situation it is in the game, you lose motivation eventually because you're not chasing anything anymore. You're there. So the goal of this is to always keep things balanced. And if the game mechanics do start working, it fixes a lot of the issues. It fixes the fun aspect of no one wanting to go to war, no wars, and it fixes the issue of like the fight tournament and all that stuff that is unbalanced right now because no one has died. No one is doing anything. We've gone months since our last war, and it has gone stale. It has. It has gotten very boring. The only things that are kind of keeping things entertaining are the events, which the events still need some work. They're still in progress of fine tuning them to get them to be the best thing that we can possibly have. But we're getting there, and the game is getting there. I'm slowly making the changes, and I still have more things to do, clearly. Try and get more people to war. I don't want to lower the death penalty. It's only 25% of your stats. If you look at your stats, and honestly look at your stats, if you lost 25% of your stats, would you really be suffering? Because when I look at most people's stats, people could die multiple times and still be good at their jobs. You look at Capo, Lieutenant, excluding the underboss and even a little bit of the soldier, but the Fight Club really isn't that big of a deal. It's just a side little fun thing. But the underboss is really the only thing that is, really hurting this whole thing. Because Dons don't really die anyway, but at this point, like, I've got more business points than I need. I could take on a couple districts, but I don't really need them, so I'm not really going for them. So right now, I'm just kind of holding back on trying to push to another district. We've got consigs, which only need 30, 40 clout if you use the report there to see how effective the consig would be. So that doesn't, even if you were at 0, you had a brand new consig, at most 30 days, and you are effective at your position. So that's it, a month in a lifetime. So like none of these other ranks, like your capo and your lieutenant, and and for your rank job, what does it take you? 18. You need 18 in that specific stat for that rank to be effective at that job, and then be effective at those types of things like doing your leadership job as a lieutenant. So you can give your soldiers accuracy and strength. That only takes I think roughly 18 leadership. That's nothing. You can get that back in no time if you even get below that. I mean, you'd have to get to 0 for it to really be an impact. But if you're only losing 25%, you're only going to lose a few points depending on what your stat is. You're only going to lose so much. So you might even lose more than what you even need anyway. Same with the capo. You only need it to, you check the airport, you do your jobs, which both of those things at most is like 18 intelligence. And then you've just got your arsons and your, robbing people, which, attacking people is obviously going to be dependent. But if people start dying, this also fluctuates and changes who your targets will be, which keeps it exciting. You're not going to be attacking the same targets if you are a turf raider. So if you die and you lose a percentage of your stats, maybe there was a bunch of people in this family that were just too easy for you, so you got tied to just attacking the bots. Now you might have targets in families, which is much more beneficial because you can go there, you can get your attacks in, and earn yourself more points than what you were getting from the bots, and you're starting to earn your family points, which is like the number one currency really in the game is the family points. Those are the most beneficial things that you could possibly have, and that will definitely come more in time because I'm going to be adding a lot more perks to the families in the future. I don't know exactly when we're going to get to those, but I have several ideas, several things are about to happen. So it changes things up. It keeps things fresh. It keeps things kind of exciting. So that's the goal, is trying to create that mechanic where people are comfortable with going to war and they're comfortable with dying and losing their stats, because at the end of the day they're still going to be effective even when they revive, and they had surplus of stats that weren't getting them any additional thing. Once you reach a certain point, like, having more than that is just fluff, so you can lose fluff, it doesn't hurt you. So trying to get to that point, obviously there's some things that I need to do to try and encourage that. Maybe more incentives, more drives, more things that will kind of kickstart that to happen. Which I do have several ideas that I'm still trying to flesh out how I want to implement and how to work. So that's it for that. Next topic I want to go over is the June event. It's in works, in the testing phase and ironing that out. So the June event is the Kansas City Massacre, which is based on a real life event where Frank Jelly Nash got taken into custody by FBI agents. He was a bank robber, and his crew basically tried to rescue him, and they attacked the FBI agents and tried to get him out of jail before he was transferred to the prison that he was going to be staying at. They tried to get him freed, and they failed. Several people died. Frank Nash actually ended up dying, and some FBI agents and everything. So that's what the event is based off of, that real life event. And it's basically going to be like a wave or horde or trying to think of another name of other styles of games that have used this kind of same setup. But basically, you're going to start off on wave 1, and then you're going to have to fight off the FBI agents. And as you take them out, as soon as you take out all FBI agents, you'll move up to the next wave. And then the next wave will have more FBI agents. And you'll get points for every kill that you do, and you'll get points for every wave that you complete. And the higher the wave, the more points you get for completing that wave. So it's going to get harder and harder. And as soon as you get to a point where they take you out, the FBI agents actually take you and your team out, you then go back to wave 1 and you start over. So you just keep growing and keep gaining it, and then the team with the most points at the end will win the event. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of like a combination of the zombie event in October. So you're fighting off basically NPCs, and basically kind of like the February event was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, where you got to kill an entire team to get to what you need. So it's a little bit different. There's going to be some other mechanics. You're going to be able to heal your health per attack, and revive, and even help out your teammates and help them out, raise their health a little bit if you need to. So it's going to be a little bit of different stuff. So it's going to be your team versus other teams, but you're not attacking the other teams. Everyone's attacking their own NPCs, and they'll be fighting their own waves. So each team will be on their own different waves, depending on their own progress. So still a competition, but it's a little bit different aspect of it. So that'll be starting in June. The fun event will be slightly different than previous fun events. I'm going to slow it down. I think I'm going to make the attacks be every hour instead of every 10 minutes for this fun event, to kind of make it where it's not so strenuous on time. And then the competitive event will stay at 10-minute intervals, to at least make one of these a little bit more lax, so you don't need to feel like you're tied to your computer and that you have to be on all the time. It should be fun. It should allow for people who maybe aren't as active to actually participate and have a good time with it. So that's the next event. Looking forward to that. So with a lot of the recent stuff, there's been some things going on that aren't the best way about approaching them. Running to the message board and slamming this or slamming that isn't the best way to try and get your point across and have a conversation about things. There's a complaint idea and glitch submission on your profile admin page. You can go ahead and submit any one of those if you got an idea for a change, you have a complaint, or you found a glitch. That's the avenue that people should be using, because anytime you post on a message board, all it usually turns into is just a bickering match. So it's not effective. And that's just being negative isn't going to get you anywhere either. Like, being constructive criticism is what's really going to get the ball rolling. A lot of the times, if I don't see something, because it might not be something that my family's facing, or I don't quite understand it, or seeing it from your point of view, I might not think it's a big deal, and I might not think, all right, I need to make a change here. But if you come to me and you send mail, or use the ticket system, then we have a discussion, and you can explain like the things that you think should be different, and I can explain why they are the way they are. And then usually when there's this kind of discussion, there's almost always a positive outcome. Both sides I feel like always are happy with the situation, because at the end of the day, either I understand you and now I see it from your side of things and be like, oh, okay, yep, I didn't see that. Let me make a change to that so that's better. Or you see it from my side and maybe you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, all right, so it should stay that way. Or we at least come to a conclusion to agree to disagree, but we at least understand each other's points of view and see that they both have merits. And maybe I just think that this is the best direction I feel the game should take in this, whatever the discussion's about. So, that's the best way to try and handle these types of issues is, just honest communication and just having a conversation about it. I will talk to anyone at any point. So I could talk about my game for days and days straight. So if you want to have a discussion, hit me up. We'll talk it out and see if we can come to some kind of compromise or agreement, or something that will hopefully make the game better in the long run. Don't just message me complaining about stuff and then when I respond back, just completely stop the conversation's over. Like, at least say something back. Like, if we're going to take the time to have this conversation and talk it out, then let's keep it respectful. And even if you don't get the answer that you're hoping for, like, you should at least say something back. Like, not just be like, done, deleted, and I'm done with this conversation. Like, let's be respectful. So let's try and change the way that we've been handling issues lately, because all it's going to do is just create more negativity, which isn't going to get anything done. But if we use the alternative and the better method, then we can actually accomplish great things and get to better features and better updates. With the current situation and with people, with stats and people like afraid to die or don't want to lose the stats, whatever you want to call it. I've been thinking about this and I've been trying to work out how I want to make these changes and make things better. So it boiled down to, like I said earlier, like the underboss is really the gatekeeper and the holdback in this whole kind of scenario. And a little bit the soldier, because they have that fight tournament where the sky is the limit. You want your strength as high as possible because you want to be able to beat everyone. And so the fight tournament has literally become one person, if they're randomly picked to go into the tournament, they are winning the tournament every single time because they have higher strength than everyone else. So there's just no shot. Which again is a small feature, but it's still an imbalanced one. But the main thing is the underboss. Underboss is the number one target most times, not always. It depends. It depends on what the objectives are, but a lot of times, like, underbosses are a primary target. They're one of the ones that people are trying to take out. And an underboss really shouldn't have, at this current stage in the gameplay, really shouldn't have much accuracy. So they're not really a threat. You should really be going for the soldiers, maybe a capo, like something into that effect. But UBs are taken out because it is UB's intimidation versus another UB or the Don's intimidation on trying to extort. So it's made it where the UB cares very much about their intimidation, and they just crush intimidation, and they pretty much don't work anything else because they want to stay on top. They don't want any other UBs to catch up. They don't want a Don to catch up. So that way they can kind of dominate and take businesses, and the other families will struggle to take them back. And that they can protect themselves, protect their family, and their businesses. So seeing them being the first primary target in a war is a problem. Like, it should be soldiers should be the first ones to realistically die. So And UBs also have a bodyguard, so they also should be harder. They're harder to kill because they have a bodyguard, but yet they're still like one of the prime targets. So I will be rolling out a change in the near future. It is done. I'm just deciding on when exactly I'm going to release it. I might release it tonight. I might release it tomorrow. I'm not too positive on when I'm going to release it yet, but because I want this video to be watched, I want people to have this sink in. I'm changing the way extorting of businesses works. I'm taking away that higher the stat, the better. I'm going to change that feature and that aspect of the game to be just like your capo trying to check the airport, your lieutenant trying to do his stat job. I'm going to have it be the underboss's intimidation versus a set value. So that way, that set value plus the business level. So the business level is going to change the difficulty of how much intimidation they're going to need to take it out. So that way it takes away that huge, you always need to be higher than everyone else in the game kind of thing. And it makes it where, all right, once you've got your intimidation, you're good to go. You can extort businesses and you can steal them. So I'm going to be making that change. I feel like that one is going to be a little, it could be ill perceived because it is drastically going to change how they operate, and the current UBs have focused on straight intimidation, so their intimidation is extremely high at this point. But this will, I think it's what's best for the game. Honestly, I think it's going to take away that huge desire for a UB to never die, to never want to go to war because they don't want to be killed, or the Don doesn't want their UB to be killed because they want to be able to protect their businesses. And if their UB gets killed, now they're going to have an even harder time getting businesses back. So I'm taking that completely out of the equation, and it's just going to be versus a DC value that will be explained in the player's guide when I do release it. So that's to balance things out and make it the UB be like any other position in the game, where it doesn't require to be good at that position, doesn't require insane stats. Whatever everyone else has really is the dictator of what that value should be. All the other positions are much more minimal to be just good at what their focus is. Again, attacking other players is all going to be based on attacking the players and based on your stat versus their stat, but like core functions of a position, those I want to be pretty easy to achieve to allow for people to war and not be worried about it. Because if we can get more wars and more stuff going on, then there's gonna be a lot more fun, and it's just gonna be just constant fun and engaging stuff. You go to war, and, things get blown up, people die. All right, they take a few weeks, they rebuild their stats, they rebuild their money, rebuild their businesses, housing, and then they're ready for the next war. So now you got more stuff going on. If you want that kind of pace, I mean, you could do it less often, but because war isn't for everyone, but it should be for most people, and it should be a big part of the game. And right now, it's literally zero. It's not really part of the game. It's avoided. So I'm changing that. The other thing I'm changing is the fight tournament. It, again, just like the UB, it's your strength versus your opponent's strength, and so you want to have the highest strength, and there's no limits to what that strength needs to be. That's set based on who else is in the game and who else is pushing that strength. So I'm going to change that, and that I already have set and have that figured out what that's going to be. For the fight tournament, you're going to be able to bring in a max of 50 strength. So once you get to 50 strength, you have all that you can possibly have. If you've got 2,000 strength, it doesn't matter. When it decides who wins, it's going to set you down to 50. So if both people have 50 strength, then it's basically a toss-up. It's complete at this point, and then it's complete lock and random who's going to win. I think it'll make the betting a little bit more fun. Maybe people actually start betting, because I mean, right now there's no point in betting. Everyone knows who's going to win. So maybe that'll get some betting going on again, some fun banter, because you never know who's going to win now, and change the fight tournament to be a little bit more fun. allow for other people to actually win the event instead of it being the same person time in and time out. So those are the changes to help try and balance the game to the point where we don't need to focus so much on our stats and we just play the game and have fun with it. That's what I'm trying to do. Which there's not a lot. I'm not sure if there's other games out there like this. I think this is going to be a unique type of game style than any others. Most games out there are money grabbing and they want people to sit there and pay and get stronger, and the longer they're in the game, the stronger they are and the more untouchable they become. And that's not what I'm trying to do with my game. I'm trying to keeping fresh and keeping it evolving and keeping it always exciting by having all this going on. So you die, like I said, you got that motivation to try and get yourself back to the top. So I think these will be good changes for the game, but again, we'll see how they play out. Nothing is concrete, nothing is set in stone, except for we'll never go back to rounds. Anything else is always up for debate and always up for possible changes if I feel like that's what's needed for the game. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll go from there. So the next topic is family-specific features. Again, a lot of people have contacted me about this, about the current situation, and am I going to allow this? And this is unfair, and what have you. And so yeah, I don't like how it's currently being used. I don't like how the gangs are allowed to go attack and then go run to Ellis Island. So if you're not on right then and there, you can never attack them back. And that they have housing when they have no real home turf and stuff like that, which there's some misconceptions of that I've recently found out. You can have housing in any city, you just have to fly there and buy it, but there's no rules, there's no restrictions on where you can buy housing or how much housing you can buy. You can go all the way up to Mafia Stronghold and an enemy's turf if you wanted to. Seems a little foolish because if you ever go to war, they're just going to blow it up, but you can do it. So that was one misconception that was brought to my attention. Another one was that people feel that having housing helps you attack people, and that's false. When you are attacking someone, it's your stats and the luck versus their stats, luck, and housing. So housing plays defense, but it does not play offense at all. So that's a misconception I wanted to correct publicly as well. I don't want people having misinformation. If it's not in the guide and you have a question, ask me. And if you're asking me and it's not in the guide, I will make sure I try and add it in. Because I don't want people to have misconceptions about the game. I'm trying to be very transparent of how the game is played, what drives, what's going to be, what the outcomes will be, what you can expect, because you'll be educated and you'll know how to play the game. So I want the player's guide to be completely robust and explain everything that needs to be explained, so there is no confusion. So I'll be adding those types of things in there so that way there is no misconceptions. But if you have any questions, always ask, and then I'll update the player's guide if needed, or point you to where it's in the player's guide and tell you the answer. That's what I typically do. So another change with that is I'm going to make housing be a family-specific feature only. So you're not going to be able to buy housing if you're in a gang. You'll have to be in a family. So if you drop from a family, you will lose your housing. So I will be going through and reimbursing anyone that's in the streets or gangs that have housing that would have lost them if I had this in. So I'll be giving you the money that you would have gotten if you sold them before you basically dropped or whatever. So you'll get your money back, you'll get reimbursed, but you'll be losing the housing, and that's going to be for gangs and people in the streets. Housing will be a family-specific feature. And another change is no more Ellis Island. Gangs will be residing in one of the cities, any neutral city. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to go down, so when you first create a gang, it just leaves you in Ellis Island currently. but when the change goes into effect, it's going to go through from starting at the top, and it's going to work its way down, checking if it's a safe city. So just like with the bots, this is essentially what's going to happen. So right now, Dallas is the first open city, and that's where the bots are residing. So gangs will reside initially, just right up front, will reside in Dallas. There will be no more Ellis Island escape or hiding. Ellis Island will be reserved strictly and solely for people in the streets, and that's it. So that change is going to be coming in the near future as well. This week, at some point, all these changes I've talked about will be rolled out. Most of them are done. Some of them are in testing. Some of them are just getting finalized, but they will all be released this week. Let's see. All right, so I think that covers it. I know this was a very long video, so let me just wrap it up with, where we're at with goals and our current status. So as I logged in earlier, we have 29 people that have logged in the last 24 hours. My goal is 100, so 71 more players to go, which I'll be working on that. Once I get all these updates in, I am going to work on getting the family chat finished, where it will be its own, it'll be on every page. It'll be at the bottom, and you'll be able to minimize it and maximize it. And so you don't have to go to a specific page to see if there's a chat. Like, it'll be at the bottom. So you can have it on any page that you are navigating through is the goal. Fix a lot of the other nuances that are a little of a bit of pain. And I just wanted to release something so you guys had some kind of chat to be able to start communicating, which I know in my family, like people that I haven't typically really hear much from are using the chat. So it's at least a step forward. So I'm glad I released it when I did. But once that is done, these updates and then the chat is done, I'll be focusing on advertising again, making a huge push to grow the game and get it out there, advertising again, hopefully bringing in new players. I have a bunch of different avenues I'm going to be trying out, and then working on, in the meantime, while the advertising is going into effect and hopefully the game starts to grow, I will be then working on creating more fun stuff in the game, changing some current stuff to be better so it's a little bit more fun, and then adding new stuff is the goal. I have tons of mini games. I have tons of ideas that will make the game more fun but not imbalance it, because that's the key. Can't add too much where if someone's on all day, like, they just blow up and, like, they just become super strong in like just a few days. So it's got to be stuff that is balanced and creates some fun. For the families, I think a new daily objective will be released in the next coming weeks. So I would recommend saving your family points unless you got something very specific in mind to go for. I'd save your family points, that way you can use it, because there'll be some the daily objective will be very hard to achieve initially, but if you get some family point upgrades in that category, it'll make it easier and easier, and then you can get the higher and higher tiers. But initial release, it's going to be a very challenging thing to achieve. So it's to help push families to grow themselves, grow stronger. Again, the goal is to create families that are currently in place to be more appealing than someone coming into the game and creating their own family, because creating their own family is a huge deficit. It's going to take a lot to overcome that. So that I want to give more incentives for families that have been in the game, have these different perks. Those families should get filled first, which is 32 members is the max. Get filled first before others start considering creating their own family to expand. My laptop's about to die, so I gotta wrap this up. The other thing is YouTube. I have 65 subscribers. My goal is to get it to 100 right now. I needed to get to 100 so that way I can actually shorten the URL and make it very simple for people to find and for me to be able to tell people, instead of this huge long string of characters. They've got it roadblocked by needing 100. So I need 35 more subscribers. So please, share the game. Try and get your friends in. Ask friends, family, if they could please subscribe to my YouTube to help that grow so I can achieve the next levels of that. Today's bonus code is FAITH. All one word, all lowercase, and that code is faith. Thanks for playing Mafia Omerta. Take it easy.